Alrighty, welcome in a Monday, a victory Monday, as your Cleveland Browns. Boy, it's good to be wrong. Let me just say, I've never felt better being wrong. 2 times this year going against the Browns. 2 times they've proven me wrong, and it feels really, really good. Welcome in, Chico Borman Show here on this Monday, Victory Monday. Browns over the Ravens, 33-31. Plenty to get to as far as that is concerned. If you want to follow us along, you can, of course, do that on Twitter, on social media, all across social media. On Twitter, at Chico Show CLE. Also, on YouTube, you can check us out. Type in the Chico Borman Show. And if you are not already subscribed, hit that button. You'll be ready to go. We also stream the show live on iHeartRadio and wherever you get your podcasts. Spotify, Apple, doesn't matter. You can find the show that way as well. Browns finding a way to get a victory. I mean, I'll be honest with you. And I would hope that others will be honest with. It's one thing, and I will say this. I said this last week, that I did feel better about them beating the Ravens than the 49ers. Like the 49ers, I would have bet the farm if I had a farm that there was no way they're going to beat the 49ers. The Ravens, there was a way to do it, but if you were to ask me that question after Baltimore jumps out to the lead, I would have said, forget about it. And I'm guessing most people would have said the same thing. And it's not, I don't think it makes us or makes anybody a bad fan. It doesn't mean we want them to lose. It doesn't mean we want to see the Browns fall to the Ravens. Of course not. But here's the thing with, this sort of win and these sorts of wins, like, we need to see it. The Browns need to see it. There's nobody that should feel guilty about saying, you know what, I need to see proof that the Browns can beat a great team, that they can beat a great team, a division foe on the road. Trailing, once they got behind and the interception, I think we all had the same reaction. Here we go again. And not to the tune of the late, great Michael Stanley's Here We Go Again, here we go again, right? But the Browns, I didn't see that coming. Deshaun Watson, 14 of 14 in the second half? Raise your hand if you called that. The Browns bullied. Here's the thing. On the road, backs against the wall, they were down to the bully of the division, one of the best teams, certainly one of the hottest teams in football. Their quarterback, again, did anyone expect him to return? I didn't. I thought he was done. I thought, well, close up shop. Here we go again. Who's it going to be against the Steelers? We'll find out, but it is what it is. Hopefully you can get a win against Pittsburgh and keep your playoff hopes alive, but the division is adios. Well, the Browns, the only thing that matters is the 53 in that locker room did not believe that, didn't believe it for a second, and they went out and got a huge, huge victory against the Ravens on the road. Talk about avenging a loss. Like the Ravens handed that's how you do it. That's how you do it. And look, I would have said, I don't care how you find a way to win. I don't care if Lamar Jackson, has some stomach issues that keep him in the locker room in the second half, and therefore the Browns were able to come. It wouldn't have mattered. Just find a way to win. But the idea, and this is what I can't stop thinking about and don't want to stop thinking about and won't stop thinking about, is they fell behind and their resolve was so great, and they bullied the Ravens. Folks, how many we can count on one hand since they've been back in the league. Count on one hand and probably not use all your fingers of how many times the Browns bullied the Baltimore Ravens. And, I mean, they ran the ball on them. They had success. Give Kevin Stefanski a lot of credit. He's finding creative ways to run the ball. And, yeah, they're down their 2 tackles. You're starting Jaron Christian hadn't started a game since 2021 for the Houston Texans. And all of a sudden, it's like, I mean, it kind of felt like a different position, but the same thing. Well, hey, Dorian Thompson-Robinson, here you go. Have fun. Do your best. That's kind of what we were saying to Jaron Christian. Dude was 2 weeks ago, he was on his couch. They signed him 10 days ago. He's on the practice squad. Then DeJuan Jones can't go. And, of course, he's replacing Jared Wills, who can't go. And Jaron Christian, boom, you're starting at left tackle. James Hudson didn't have a great game, but they found a way to win. And let's break it all down. How did they find a way to win? Because their leader, they've been telling us, Deshaun's our leader. Kevin Stefanski's been telling us he's our leader, right? Well, we can only believe what we see, okay? And this is why I say, like, as fans, nobody should feel guilty about being skeptical or having been skeptical or even saying after this win, well, okay, now you got to stack another one. You got to beat Pittsburgh. You got to avenge that loss. Absolutely. Because we're just, I mean, we've been down this road so many different times. And again, there's still a lot of football to be played. But I think we all can admit, even the most skeptical have to admit, this one was different. This one was different because your quarterback, who has been much maligned, and I think to some degree deservedly so since his arrival, a team that, they'll find a way to screw this up, and here come the injuries. That feeling is just, I mean, it's been prevalent for over 2 decades now. But the idea that Deshaun Watson was the one that said, not only am I going to play, I'm going to play well. I'm going to play well enough to lead us to a victory. He outdueled Lamar Jackson in the second half of that game. That's not easy to do. Not a lot of quarterbacks can do that. Lamar Jackson was playing, and that offense and that entire team had won 4 in a row. There was a case to be made for them as the best team in football. And so you've got 2 of the Browns' 6 wins this year. And, yeah, they've had some difficult losses and, where we've just gone, what the hell was that? But 2 of their 6 wins are against 2 teams at the time you thought, there's no way. San Francisco, what are you kidding me? The way that offense was humming and the defense, and they're done. Forget about it. Nope, they got it done. But then Baltimore, well, okay, if you're gonna seriously entertain hopes of getting to the postseason and winning in the postseason, or just any kind of dare to dream type attitude, you've got to be able to win in your division on the road. Period. I mean, it's what the great teams do. It's what Kansas City's done. It's what Cincinnati has done, obviously. Burrowhead. It's what, Tom Brady and the Patriots would. I mean, it's something you have to do. You have to be able to win on the road. You have to beat teams that you normally, you probably shouldn't win, but you found a way. And now they just did that. And now you get ready for the Pittsburgh Steelers on Sunday. But, I mean, enjoy this one. Absolutely enjoy this one. Deshaun Watson, tip of the cap, bro. 14 of 14 in the second half. When he ran for that first down, the dude had one leg. I mean, he was on one leg. Jadeveon Clowney rolled up on that. By the way, tip of the cap to Jadeveon. He was classy helping him up. I still don't like him, but that's all right. That's beside the point. But Deshaun Watson's on one leg. His shoulder's bothering him, and he's like, I've got to run for this first down. I've got to find a way. And he did. This is as big a win as the Browns have had, and this is not hyperbole. This is as big a win as the Browns have had in, I don't know, 3-4 years. We go back to the year that, they win in Pittsburgh and it's a playoff game, and because it's Pittsburgh and 2020 and all that was going on. But even this, like Baltimore's the team that they kicked you around in the backyard over and over and over, and you went crying home to mom and said, "Oh, they did it to me." And it was, well, you know what? You got to go out. There's no shortcuts. And they didn't take a shortcut. Matter of fact, they spotted them 14 points. They spotted them 14 and then said, and I wouldn't recommend doing that, by the way, in the future, but they spotted them 14 and said, we're still not going away. You still have to deal with us. But I think the biggest takeaway has got to be Deshaun Watson. He needed this. We needed this. The coaching staff needed this. You can talk all you want about he's your leader. You can talk all you want about, he's your franchise guy. You have to go out and prove it. Okay, Freddie Kitchens, God bless him. We love Freddie. Freddie Kitchens talked more than anybody, but when push came to shove, couldn't back it up. And it's not just him. We've had a history of that. So, I got tired, just like you got tired, of hearing, oh, Deshaun Watson's their leader. Really? Well, I need to see it. We saw it. In high definition, hopefully, for many of you. You saw it in the second half where the dude did not miss a pass. Boom. Boom. I mean, that was as big as it gets as far as regular season games.
Chico, you said it on Friday when you referenced the San Francisco game, right? Where we were going into that weekend with the Browns have no chance whatsoever. And the fact that they were able to pull off that upset, and then later on to yesterday, they did it again. You said today that this feels different. And I think the fact that they have been able to do this on more than one occasion already halfway through the season, that they've established themselves as one of the most elite defenses in the NFL, if not the most, right there with the Ravens, who they were able to dominate for more often than not.
No. Now it's just consistency. Yeah. I mean, that's that, and that's a big thing. I don't want to just gloss over that. But now it's about consistency. Go ahead.
And they're starting to pull off these massive wins often. And you still have games like Seattle where you really stumble and you feel like you should be walking away from that one victorious. But the fact that in the biggest moment against a divisional opponent, you're able to come in and go into their house in front of their wives and kids, Chico, and come away with the win. It's just, this is a different era of Browns football that I think that we're witnessing.
Who are you
referencing?
Yeah.
Roquan Smith.
It was Roquan. You're right.
Yep. Before they came into the
For some reason, I was thinking that was a steal. You're right. It was Roquan Smith.
They beat our asses in front of their wives and kids. So it was our turn to exact revenge, Chico.
Boom, you'll just have to excuse me because sometimes when you go into badass mode, I don't know what to do. It's cool. I love it. I like hearing the fire. I mean, I could hear your voice reaching a crescendo. Good word. And
great word.
Yeah, and I think that's how we all feel today. Yeah, Roquan Smith, Patrick Queen, and that's a good football team. That wasn't a football team. You didn't do it with smoke and mirrors either. Okay, one thing I did say on Friday and last week, they didn't play a clean game, okay? Because obviously we saw the pick six and Kyle Hamilton, and that's just, how do you... But one thing that I did harp on was Lamar Jackson, for as great as he is, will turn the ball over. Or I should say, he will give you an opportunity, in this case, plural, to turn him over. They did that. What's next for the Browns? This I feel confident saying. I can't even believe. Let me just get my bearings here before I say this. Whew. If the Browns play a clean game, meaning they don't turn the ball over, they can beat anybody in football. And I know somebody's saying, well, 49ers, Ravens, that's not that. But, I mean, these are the things. They have all the talent in the world. I mean, the defense is loaded. If Deshaun Watson, if this is, and he was in a boot after the game, he's got to be healthy. Like, I mean, forget about it. He's got to keep trudging along. He's got to keep playing. He's got to find a way, and I'm sure he will, because you can't do it with P.J. Walker, okay? P.J. Walker, not in a million years, no disrespect, but P.J. Walker, Dorian Thompson, those guys could never dream of going 14 for 14, making plays with their legs on the road at Baltimore, a hostile environment. You're trailing, and doing it hurt. Like there's certain guys that can only do that. There are only certain guys that can do that. And there's still a lot that needs to be done from Deshaun, but I can't emphasize this enough. We needed to see him. Hell, the Browns needed to see it. I don't care what anybody says in Berea. You're going to be a good teammate. You're all sticking together. That's great. But you know what? Those guys in Berea right now, they needed to see it. Deshaun needed to see it. So yeah, we needed to see it as well. But there's only a few guys in the NFL can do what he did. Hopefully that is a sign of things to come. Hopefully that is Deshaun Watson. The confidence is starting to come back, and I definitely think it is. I said this earlier in the year, and I maintain this. I don't think he's going to be 100% with the shoulder. I think it's one of those that, and I'm not saying it needs surgery. I'm just saying, like, he needs full rest. And so it's a matter of managing that, which is a big deal. Again, it's your throwing shoulder. Ironically enough, and he likes to throw the deep ball more than the short ball. The deep ball is probably easier for him. I was listening to a few guys talk about this. The deep ball is probably easier for him because he can get his entire body into it. When you're throwing, let's say like on the run, or let's say like you're firing a little, a slant 10 yards, like that's all. I don't want to say it's all arm, like it's, your footwork still has, but you're not getting your full body into that. You're not necessarily like flipping hips and all that. It's just quick, bang. So those throws, I think, are going to continue to bother him to some degree. But now the mind can do great things. Confidence can do great things. I didn't know if Deshaun had that in him, okay? And even those that will say, oh, I did. If you did, God bless you. I'm not any worse of a fan, and none of us are, if we said, I didn't think he had it in him. But he did yesterday, and they did yesterday. And Kevin Stefanski, damn it, called a great game. Creative ways to – the Browns, you can't replace Nick Chubb, okay? I mean, case in point, they've got 3 guys trying to do it. But you know what? They played bully ball. They played bully ball without Jack Conklin, without Jed Wills, without DeJuan Jones. Like, that was one of those Bitonio, Wyatt Teller. Like, they were just kind of like, all right, yeah, we're still here. We're not going anywhere. Ooh, man. All right. Yeah, I don't think I'm way off in saying this. If the Browns, I don't care if it's the Chiefs, I don't care if it's the Eagles, and this isn't to say they're going to win every game, that they beat those teams and they're the best team in football. I'm not saying that. What I am saying, though, is if the Browns play a clean game and they don't give the opposition short fields to work with, if they don't hand the opposition, turnovers and points, they can play and beat anybody in the league. And now you can say that in previous years. Oh, well, they can. No, it's not true, because you have to have the talent. They have the talent. There are some things now. This is what separates great teams from good teams. You know what they have to do? Guess what they have to do? I know it's not what we want to hear, but now they got to go against the Pittsburgh Steelers on Sunday, beat the living shit on a Kenny Pickett because he's terrible. That guy is they were outgained by the Packers again. Like Pittsburgh, they're outgained every single week, but they find a way to win. And why do they find a way to win? Because they have that culture, because they have a good head coach in Mike Tomlin. But you know what? That's only going to take you so far against a team as talented and now as confident as the Browns. And if you don't think, I want to see some trash talk on some. I'm not saying stupid penalties, but you know what? Like, I don't think Minkah Fitzpatrick knocked Nick Chubb out on. I don't believe that. What I do believe, though, is that Mike Tomlin, if we go back to that game, and we're going to be doing this a lot this week with the Steelers on the horizon, I don't doubt for a second that Mike Tomlin gave Minkah Fitzpatrick, TJ Watt, anybody within earshot early in that game going, you guys, this guy 24, if you guys don't gang tackle him, if you don't wrap up, if you think you're just going to arm tackle, forget about it. I think he absolutely gave them an ultimatum. And Minkah Fitzpatrick, did he go low? I don't think Minka's that type of player. But you know what? If you're a Browns player, who cares? I want to see them take that personally. I want to see them, and I think we will. I think you'll see it. We won't hear it necessarily. They are children. Children are watching the game. But I'd be willing to bet if you were on the sideline, if you're on that field Sunday, there's going to be a lot of because this game against Baltimore gave them something inside. Like, you know what? We are not going to be bullied by anybody. If Baltimore is unable with a 14-point lead, if they're not able to bully us at their place and playing as well as then nobody is, especially the Steelers. I want to see. I don't anticipate this. You never anticipate a blowout because it's the NFL and because it's a rivalry and because it's the AFC North and because Mike Tomlin. But, man, would that feel so good if they avenge these two losses by really beating the crap out of Pittsburgh up front like they did with Baltimore. And that's how they have to do it. Doesn't mean Deshaun Watson takes a backseat. Not at all. But that's outside of Deshaun, and that's got to be your number one takeaway from yesterday. Outside of Deshaun, the other takeaway for me is they finally bullied the bully. They finally said enough is enough. They could have easily closed the tent, said that's it. Let's go through the motions. We'll get ready for Pittsburgh. We're still 5-4. We're still in the playoff race. They did not do that. How we feeling, Bo? Huh?
Feeling great, Chico.
Yeah.
This is kind of surreal. This Victory Monday is a little bit surreal because that was, to this point, it feels like the biggest win of the season. And we said going in, this was going to be their toughest test yet. This is their first time, in my opinion, that they've proven that they can perform on the road. I think the question that I still need to see answered is the fact that they started off a little bit slow, right? And it feels like this has been a recurring theme throughout the course of the season where Deshaun doesn't really seem to get it going until the second half. And a lot of times it's been like sufficient performance in the second half. I remember specifically at Tennessee. I think he turned it on against San Francisco in the second half. But yesterday was the biggest example. I mean, you start the first half 6 of 20. It was just brutal. Pick six on the second throw of the game.
Yeah. He was at one point. He was 7 of 21 with an interception. I mean, he hadn't done anything.
Yeah, and he finishes 14 of 14 in the second half. And it's like a flick of the switch, a tale of two halves. And I don't know. I just want to see it for 60 minutes, Chico.
Bone's getting ready to yell again. This is, wow, you're really fired. Now I know this. Now I know this win meant something because
this was absolutely huge, Chico.
And let me go one step further. And by the way, we'd love to hear from you. If you want to chime in on Twitter at Chico Show CLE, you can also.
We do have a couple comments.
Okay, my personal Twitter. This is one of those I wish it's not anybody's fault. I mean, it's, we change mediums and whatever. This is where I really miss. This is where I really, really miss. I always miss the fans, the listeners and all that. I mean, they're the reason I'm here. Any of us are here. But, God, this is – I would get so jacked. And here's the thing. From my vantage point, I haven't had many of these where you come in and you're like, no, I mean, even during the worst of times, we still have fun. And, yeah, we argue. But, this is one where I would we got to find a way to be able to have some fan interaction. So do that on Twitter at Chico Show CLE, my personal Twitter at Big Play Chico, on YouTube. And what's the Spaces, Voices? What is it?
Well, it's Twitter Live. You can watch us live on Twitter.
Okay, is there a way you were saying back a while ago? There's a way that fans can call through. I won't pretend to know all the technology.
Yeah, and neither will I. That's why I need some help from one of the higher ups.
Okay, and I know they've got a lot on their plate, but this is maybe if I wasn't so used to. I mean, I've been in radio my whole life. It wouldn't be as big, but this is when I really miss the fans. I even if they called up and said, you know what, Chico, you don't know a damn thing, which they do anyway. You don't know a damn thing. I hate listening to you. That's fine. This is when I need the fans.
I agree with you, Chico. I mean, you know that the energy right now amongst the Browns community is just everyone's amped up on this Victory Monday.
They deserve this.
They took such a massive step forward yesterday. I mean, they proved a lot of things in that unbelievable comeback win. That I mean, I'm still in shock.
Yeah.
By what happened. And I think you want to feel that energy. We need someone to call in and bark for us, Chico, because they're so pumped up.
I mean, I know Top Dog's going to be coming in to tape his show here in a little bit like today. That. Yeah. I might just sprint out, and Top Dog might be so taken aback that he might I might land on my butt. But I might just sprint out the door as soon as the show ends because he's usually waiting out the hall. I might find Hanford Dixon, and I might just go up and just start barking. We might not even need to say anything to Hanford. This is one of the, back growing up as a kid, did I ever think that I'd be doing a show and then leaving and, oh, well, hey, Hanford, your studio's right. But this is one of those days where, damn it, take advantage of it. Top Dog's in here. Hoo, 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 hoo. That's what we do. Yeah.
That was excellent barking, Chico. That was phenomenal.
Used to do it all the time in the pound, baby. All the time back as
Hank Aaron
as a young lad. Whew. All right, what are some of the comments we've got? I got to simmer down here a little bit. I feel like Baker after running for a first down.
I know, right? How about Baker, by the way, coming out with the dub, bouncing back after a 4-game losing streak?
Yeah.
But shout out to our pal Ronald, who said, "Happy Victory Monday, boys." Chico, I'm not going to lie, I stopped watching the game after the muff punt. And that did feel like the dagger at one point. Yeah. And that's just a testament to the resilience of this team. To be able to bounce back from that and obviously come away with the dub, it's just monumental. Also, shout out to our pal D-Soul, who says, "Huge W. Big win, Chico."
Huge. And, when we get ready for Pittsburgh coming up on Sunday at home, I feel like, because, again, taking that next step, when I said earlier that, if the Browns can play with anybody, and they can beat anybody if they play a clean game. They didn't play a clean game here, but now these are the things they have to start. I loved Kevin Stefanski's post game. I also love what Kevin Stefanski said. Hey, we are coming in tomorrow. And that's not to say that I know they work hard, but he could have said, "Damn it, good for you guys. Enjoy the, don't come in tomorrow. I'll see you on Wednesday." Tuesday's obviously their off day. But he said, what did he say? There's some things that we've got to clean up. We're seeing Stefanski take a step too. For all of the the hand wringing, myself included, with the run game's going to be shot, and Jerome Ford, Pierre Strong, Kareem Hunt, however you got to do it, well, they're doing it. And like I said, that was a bully ball mentality, particularly in the second half. They were running the ball all game. It was just, you can't shoot yourselves in the foot. Oh, man. I just bring on the Steelers. I don't know if I can wait. Like, there's two things now that I can't physically, like, I can feel my insides like this. And it's this Sunday against the Steelers and 12 days from now when Ohio State plays Michigan, which we got to get to that coming up a little bit later in the show as well. But if you'd like to chime in, certainly feel free to do that on Twitter or on YouTube. The biggest takeaway, obviously, is Deshaun Watson. And you hope, again, he was hobbled. He says he's definitely going to play. We thought he was going to play that first Baltimore game, but we're past that. We no longer have ill feelings there. He will play on Sunday against Pittsburgh, but I want these boys bad on Sunday. Bad. Prediction, Mr. T, Clubber Lang. Prediction, pain.
Do you think there's any like revenge factor in this one? Because I think after the Nick Chubb injury, that was like when that happened, in that moment, it was just so like shocking. But now that they've had time to reflect on it, obviously losing their brother in the locker room.
Here's what I'll say. Revenge, a lot of times, I feel, is overrated. And I know a lot of guys say this, and it totally makes sense. You'll hear Hanford, Joe Thomas, Greg Williams, they all talk about it, that, once the ball's kicked off and, okay, well, I'm sorry. There are times when this is what's fun. This is what we've missed as fans about a rivalry. We were always like, oh yeah, we hate them. Do they hate us? Not really. They don't even, we're not even a pimple on their rear end. Of course they don't care about us. Well, now they do. Think you got Baltimore's attention? Oh yeah. Oh yeah. You went into their place. We're definitely on their radar. Pittsburgh's radar, they're next. And I mean, they know we're a much better team than, yesteryear and all, but like, now you got to do what you did to Baltimore. Instead of talking about, now you got to do the same thing to Pittsburgh. And I mean, beat the crap out of those guys on Sunday. Up front, Kenny Pickett, I want him to be, he's a human pinata on Sunday. And Miles and Za'Darius and Dalvin Tomlinson and Obo and Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, they're just teeing up. Blindfold, then they take it off, and then they're just swinging. That's what, now, not literally, but just tee off on this dude. They suck offensively, Pittsburgh does. They're terrible.
By the way, you mentioned JOK, and I want to shout him out because it feels like Lamar Jackson is exactly the reason that you drafted him. Like, you got him for that speed as a missile to come and prevent Lamar from getting outside of the pocket and picking up extra yards on his feet, and I think that showed. And JOK has been doing it all year, too.
What was he wearing coming into the game?
I did want to bring that up, too. That
I don't
was
know. I don't know if, and I'm being serious here. Like, was that like a religious thing? I didn't know. I don't know.
Kind of looks villainous, but like I could see him being a supervillain in a Marvel comic.
I mean, let's be honest. We've all become immune to some degree to the outfits. I mean, seeing LeBron walk in a suit and tie with the shorts, and I mean,
dressing up like Angus Young of AC/DC.
Yeah, I mean, there's good one. There are nowadays. It's just nothing. But that one, I was like, what the hell? First of all, he looked like he was 8 feet tall wearing that. I don't know. It just looked, I don't know if he was the Wizard of Oz or what, I don't know what that was, but who cares? It doesn't. Wear it again next week. All right, we're going to take
you
a
play
break.
like that, you wear whatever the hell you want.
Yeah, I mean, Myles Garrett, I always say, if you look like that, just walk around without a shirt on. But, I mean, it's November, and who cares? Anybody going to say, guy without a shirt on aisle 9? No, not when it's him. All right, we'll take a break. We'll come back. We'll play a little fair or foul. Top of the hour. Hey, we're going to continue this great theme, feel good, as far as the Browns. But I got a lot to say on this Michigan thing. I had a lot to say last week. I am, and I promise you, I hope I can at least, because actually oftentimes this has got me in trouble with fans, where, well, if you would be more subjective and not objective and be more of a fan. This is not an Ohio State homer take. This is Michigan and Harbaugh and Moore and JJ are becoming some of them, not becoming, they are. They are the most annoying, hated. Could this be the most hated? I've been around this earth. Well, I'll tell you what. We'll talk about it coming up at the top of the hour. I don't want to bore everybody right now, but we're gonna get into this after 1 o'clock. All right, we'll take a break. We'll come back. Victory Monday. Browns 33, Ravens 31. How do you like them apples? Fair or foul's next here on the Chico Borman Show. Alrighty, welcome back. Chico Borman Show on this Victory Monday. Browns improved to 6-3. Spotted those Ravens 14-point. No big deal. No big deal. They'll find a way. And they did. 33-31. It is Victory Monday. Folks, if you need bet credits for football season, the Big Play Network is presented by Tipico Sportsbook, and we are proud to be affiliated with the Tipico Sportsbook. That app has your traditional bets like the money line, spread, and point totals, but you can also lock in player props and check out our Big Play boosts every single week to back your favorite Cleveland teams and athletes with the best odds in Ohio. Get in the action, load up for football season using promo code Chico150. That's CHICO 150 to get $150 in bet credits on us plus a $30 dog pound bet. Bet with the Big Play crew all season long with Tipico Sportsbook. All right, real quick before I go to fair or foul, boom. So I was talking about this whole, like, you know, the biggest takeaways, of course, Deshaun Watson, you know, doing what great quarterbacks, great leaders, highly paid, all that stuff, do what they do. He did that in the second half. The other thing is the Browns bullied the Ravens, and they bullied them really for much of the game. I mean, certainly on offense. Brian Baldinger, I just saw him shout out Wyatt Teller. Oh, that was awesome. But I'm going to say something, and I don't even care how people take it. So Cedric Tillman, rookie wide receiver, I think is going to be a great one for this Browns franchise. Cedric Tillman had that crackback block on Kyle Van Noy. Now, could it have garnered a flag? Yeah. You know, okay. Can't do that. I get it. But I can remember not so much the Ravens, but the Steelers for sure. Like back when the Steelers had, you know, the Roethlisberger, like, I mean, when he was still, and it was James Harrison, and it was James Harrison, Ferrier, Troy Polamalu. And look, they were a very talented team. I'm not taking anything away from them, but they loved to push the envelope. And while I'm sure to a man, Tomlin, and even before Tomlin, Cowher, now I know rules have changed, but they'd come over to the sideline and it was nice job. Like, you want that. You want, fine, yeah, you know what? We got to talk to James. He can't be doing that stuff. That's what he's saying to us. Behind closed doors are like, that's the mentality. The Browns finally did that. And you know what? I don't care. I don't care, you know, what they said to Cedric Tillman. I guarantee you at least one person is like, you know what? Good for you. That's part of sending a message. Now, you've got to be smart about it. I'm not saying, because then I'll be the first one to say, well, that's a stupid penalty. Why would you put your team in that position? But this is exactly to my point about what the Browns have been on the other end of with these two teams in particular, Baltimore, and, of course, this Sunday it's Pittsburgh. These are the things that the Browns always had. Muhammad Massaquoi basically getting decapitated. And everybody like, oh.
No mess.
Yeah. And I mean, Debo was like, oh, yeah, that's – who else wants a piece of Debo? Like, they didn't do anything. So, yeah, I know there's a fine line, but damn it, that block against Kyle Van Noy, keep sending messages like that. Some subtle, some not so subtle, that we're here and we're not going to be bullied anymore. We're going to play physical. We might even push the envelope like you guys have done for a few years. We might be pushing back a little bit. So get ready. And yes, Kyle Van Noy and others, take notice, have your head on a swivel. All right, it's time for a little fair or foul. What's up, Bone?
All right, Chico. Well, I would be remiss if I didn't start things off, and I'm not going to channel my Axl Rose impression here out of respect to you.
Thanks,
but
Paul.
C.J. Stroud strolls into the jungle in Cincinnati, right? And one of my favorite moments of that game was when he rushed for that 8-yard touchdown, and he throws up the OH. I love it. And Bengals
you
fans,
probably
like,
cried.
The Bengals / Buckeye fans, like, how can you hate that? But with that said, Chico, so last week I asked you if you thought, fair or foul, that the Houston Texans were a legitimate threat in the AFC South, to win the AFC South. Now, Jacksonville, you saw lose pretty convincingly.
They got their asses kicked.
Houston Texans, I mean, you want to talk about a statement win from the Browns. This was quite a statement from C.J. Stroud and the Houston Texans. How about Noah Brown, by the way? quietly establishing himself as one of the elite receivers in this league.
Boom, your little head's going to explode today with all this excitement.
It was a great weekend of sports for me as a fan, Chico. Fair or foul, I want to re-ask you, I want to pose this question again for you. The Houston Texans are a legitimate threat to win the AFC South.
I have to say fair now. I mean, I didn't think Jacksonville had a big game, obviously, and they need, and they played terrible, and I thought that they were actually going to win that game outright against San Francisco. They didn't, and they played terribly. And Trevor Lawrence, everybody, it's just so up and down with what they've been doing. But right now, it's the one thing that I did say fair to last week was CJ as far as the MVP discussion. And for two reasons. One, he deserves it. And the other one is, as far as the consideration, and the other one is nobody's really, and that's advantage CJ. Well, a win like that and a performance like that, like you're down and he just, nothing phases this kid. That's why Ryan Day, going back to that a couple years ago, God, I remember that post-game show like it was yesterday, Boom. I think you were with me. People were all playing Minnesota. Was it Minnesota? Yeah, it was Minnesota. And
yeah, that first game?
Yeah, people were calling, they got to bench him. And I'm like, would you guys... And Ryan Day was like, this kid's going to be great. He's fine. Did he say the same thing about McCord and Devin Brown and that whole... No, he was legitimately kind of concerned. He was never concerned about C.J. Stroud. I love it. And now his story is taking shape too. For those that don't know, his dad is in prison and unless he's paroled is going to be out for life or in there for life. Didn't have a great relationship as one can imagine. How can you not like C.J. Stroud? So yes, to answer your question, he's still very much in the MVP discussion, but yeah, I have to. After Jacksonville looked that bad and the Texans did what they did on the road, I have to say that they're a threat now to Jacksonville. I don't know what's up with the Jaguars.
Yeah, the Browns and the Texans with two of the biggest wins of the week yesterday. Because I mean, I feel like I would make the case that it was either the Bengals or the Ravens that were the best team in football going into yesterday's matchups, and both those teams hosting underdogs on their home turf,
right? That's
and falling.
Yeah, that's just it. I mean, if you were gonna say, if you told anybody, if you said, "Boom, fair or foul," the Ravens and the Bengals will both go down at home, and you're crazy. And it's not what those teams do, but they did, and that was not in a million years that I anticipate seeing that. But I mean, this division we already knew, and now Baltimore and Cincinnati. Browns play Pittsburgh on Sunday. Baltimore and Cincinnati have a short week. Boy, that's really unfortunate. Baltimore, they got a little banged up a little bit, and they got to turn around and play again. They play on Thursday night. Hope you're having a really rough time getting out of bed today, Kyle Van Noy.
By the way, that's one of the more exciting Thursday night matchups in a long time.
Yeah.
That we've seen like this season.
Al Michaels has got to be like, hallelujah.
I know, right? But real quick before I move on from the Texans and Stroud, do you think that the fact that CJ's doing what he's doing as a rookie benefits him in that MVP contention?
I don't understand. Oh, you're saying that he is a rookie, that it'll give him more? No, I don't think so. You know what? It's a good question, but I don't think, unless, put it this way, I know we're talking about good performances, bad performances. The MVP really isn't won until the month of December. You know what I mean? You've got to put up numbers, but in December is when you start to see guys separate. Now, even in previous years, you've had, this is a done deal. It's fill in the blank. That's not the case this year. So if it continues to be that way, I guess the only caveat I'll put on that is that if it continues to be this way, where like Mahomes and the Chiefs are, and don't think I think their offense is going to be better, certainly, but I don't know if it's ever going to, really get back to where they were at any point last year. I don't want to bet against them, But if that continues and you have guys like Mahomes or Tyreek Hill's in the discussion, and if you don't really have anybody separate in December and CJ continues to play well, then his story will probably start to overwhelm. I think it's a little too early for that right now, but his story's awesome. I mean, I am so happy for that kid. And I'm so happy for you, Bone. I'm so happy for you because I know how much you got to get a CJ Stroud picture or poster and a jersey. I think this warrants jersey material. I know you're not a jersey guy, and I'm usually not either, but if I was as much of a fanboy, and I say this, in a nice way, that you are with CJ Stroud, you might have to ask old St. Nick. Maybe he can bring you, the fat man can bring you a CJ Stroud jersey. For a fat guy, you're not very jolly.
Maybe I'll just email Kim Stroud. Hey, could I get a jersey?
I think I think she's still on our email chain.
Yeah.
Hey guys, I can't seem to get I can't seem to hear back from Kim Stroud on the airport on the air show interviews because you're emailing CJ Stroud's mom, not Kim.
It's the wrong Kim.
And by the way, she poked her head in
Speaking
earlier to
of
say
Kim.
hi. God bless her.
Well, you mentioned and I agree with you, first off, by the way, about the fact that I think, to me, it's more impressive that CJ is doing this as a rookie, but that can't be factored into MVP because they need to be, that should not be something that,
It shouldn't, but you know what else shouldn't either is where, past, oh, well, this guy's a Hall of Famer, so we're going to just put him at the front. Sometimes, we can say that it shouldn't happen, and I agree, but they don't always follow those rules on the other side of that, too. When a guy has a sterling resume and it's like, well, you got to put him up there. Well, maybe his numbers really aren't that deserving.
The other reason right now, as it currently stands, that I would put CJ over Tyreek Hill at this very moment is because I think his team is winning the big games right now, and the Dolphins are not always doing that.
I'll tell you what. Now that you mentioned CJ, one more stat.
Hit me.
I love this. With the Steelers coming to town on Sunday and Kenny Pickett. Oh, my God, their offense. I kind of fell for that, too. Preseason, have you seen the Steelers' offense? Kenny Pickett, the ball's not even touching the ground. Kenny Pickett has played 26 games for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Do you know that C.J. Stroud has more touchdown passes in his career than Kenny Pickett does his? 26 games. And C.J. Stroud's already by him. And we're halfway through his first season. Like that. Wow. How
about that?
Take that, Kenny.
Well, speaking of those very Steelers,
Kenny,
I cannot believe their record. What are they, 6-2? 6-2, 6-3, something like that?
They're 6-3.
6-3, okay.
Yeah.
And we talk, and I guess also in light of talking about the Houston Texans, who are a very pleasant surprise for me this season.
Yeah.
Fair or foul, Chico, the Pittsburgh Steelers are the biggest surprise up to this point in the season. The fact that they've been able to go 6-3.
Of any team in the league?
Yes. I mean, to me, it's amazing. I can't believe their record is what it is. And you look at those games like where they played Cleveland, and it felt like the Browns should have won that game. And there's been a lot of games where they just squeak by, but they're doing just enough to come out with.
Right, but here's the thing. I mean, if you're asking me, am I shocked? I mean, with the talent they have or lack thereof on offense, because again, the Green Bay game, and this has happened. Of their 6 wins, I want to know how many of those they've won despite being outgained on their offenses. They were outgained by Green Bay again, but they won. Now, some of that is you have Mike Tomlin, you have a culture, and the things that we're hoping the Browns, and yesterday's win may have gone taken a huge step in that direction. But when you have Mike Tomlin and the Pittsburgh Steelers, they still have a very good defense. I don't think I can say nobody was writing them off at the beginning of the year. You know what I mean? Even those that were skeptical about them were like, yeah, they don't have the talent that they're used to having, but it's still Pittsburgh, it's still Tomlin. This is why Mike Tomlin, and I know you brought up Filippone on Friday from Pittsburgh, and I like Andrew, I do.
He's good at what he does.
He's very good at what he does. Yeah, I love it. He's a talk show host in Pittsburgh. But he was on this, I think he probably still is, that Mike Tomlin needed to be fired a couple years ago. Folks, the guy, whether you, and I understand if you're a Browns fan, you don't like the Steelers, and maybe Tomlin rubs you the wrong way, whatever. Mike Tomlin is a phenomenal coach, and he's proving it again this year. So to your point, Bohm, I'm going to go foul. They're not the biggest surprise in football.
I do think, to your point, that Mike Tomlin needs to be a Hall of Famer one day.
Oh, he will.
That man in the Hall of Fame. Yeah.
He will, absolutely.
With that, though, Chico, I want to go to a former Browns quarterback, Josh Dobbs, who gets it done again in Minnesota.
Now, there's a surprise.
Yeah, that's one of them.
Surprises.
I mean, the Texans are a big surprise. I didn't expect them to take off like they have.
Minnesota started 0-4, and then they lost Kirk Cousins, and they continue to just roll on.
Yeah, and they look rejuvenated under Josh Dobbs when he's lining up under center. So I want to ask you, Chico, fair or foul, right now, Dobbs is playing like a top 15 quarterback in the NFL.
See, I always this is why I don't like Lisbom, because then I've got to go through it, like, because he's playing like an upper tier starter. He's playing like an above average starter, and again, you can't talk about Josh Dobbs and him playing with the Minnesota Vikings and not reference the fact that this guy gets dropped in there in the middle of nowhere. It's like, hey, go win us some games. And the other guy, speaking of head coaches, Kevin Stefanski's good buddy, Kevin O'Connell, has done an amazing job. You talk about that is a team, like last year they had that great record, but you knew they weren't a deep in the playoffs type team. But I still think Minnesota has a bit of that culture type stuff. Good afternoon. You can drop it here. We got a little package here. We're just enjoying a Browns victory Monday. We got the Amazon delivery. What's your name? We'll give her a shout out. Actually, I'd rather have you in the studio than Dave in the studio. I can tell you that right now. All right. So as far as Minnesota, though, think about it. Kevin O'Connell, Kevin Stefanski's good buddy, and bunny. They started the year 0-4, okay? Then you lose Kirk Cousins. Everybody's just right in the, remember when it was like their yard sale? Well, let's say when Kirk Cousins was healthy, and then Danielle Hunter, and then this and that, and, well, who do you trade? Minnesota's like, nah, you know what? We're going to keep playing this out, and here they are. And Kevin Stefanski's good pal is doing a hell of a job. Matter of fact, I'd put him right at the front of the discussion as far as Coach of the Year. I mean, I'm not saying he is, but I'm saying he's definitely at the top of that in that conversation. Hi, Dave. How's it going, buddy?
Victory Monday.
Hoo! You've got a great bark, Chico.
Thank you. Bohm just said I have a great bark, Dave.
Second best bark in the company.
Second best.
When he gets here,
Shots
too.
fired.
I'm not even going to say anything to him. I'm just coming out and barking to Hanford.
Honestly, you should.
Hanford does have
We
an
need a
incredible
barking
bark.
competition.
He'd win.
On the other side, though, of that game, Chico, the New Orleans Saints feels like they're not really getting the most out of that offense. Now, Derek Carr.
Bohm's subtle way of trying to be nice. Yeah, it's bad. It's real bad.
Let me give you some numbers, Chico. Derek Carr, 13 of 18, 110 yards. No tutties, no INTs.
He got hurt, though, didn't he?
He did, and so Jameis Winston came in, 13 of 25, 122 yards, and in the most Jameis Winston stat line of all time, 2 tutties, 2 INTs.
Of course, he had a couple picks.
He had one crazy touchdown, by the way, where he literally threw it all the way across the field into the end zone. It was very on brand for Jameis, you know.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, he couldn't eat the W today.
That's why when people were talking about signing Jameis Winston, I said, because, and I keep emphasizing this, they got a clean game. You can't turn the ball over. Jameis Winston's talented, but he turns the ball over too much. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was optimistically hopeful that maybe the LASIK surgery would change things, but I guess not. Fair or foul, Chico?
Optimistically hopeful, as opposed to pessimistically hopeful.
Yeah, I guess.
I was I was optimistically skeptical. Well, I don't, go ahead. Go ahead,
Optimistically skeptical.
You're on one today. This Victory
I
Monday
feel like
really.
I could find some way to find an actual example of being optimistically skeptical.
Yeah.
Where that is optimism. But with that said, Chico, fair or foul, the New Orleans Saints do not have their answer at quarterback currently, and will, I guess, acquire someone new in the offseason.
I mean, you're giving me layups. I don't know how I could answer yes to this. Like, and I like Derek Carr. I actually thought he would, but yeah, safe to say that their answer is not Derek Carr, and they might need to. I haven't followed them closely enough to figure out like how's their O-line playing, but I'll say this: if you have Chris Olave in fantasy, I think you're really happy that Jameis, nothing against, you don't want anybody to get injured, but Jameis Winston's going to be much better for Chris Olave as far as fantasy football is concerned.
I do agree with that. And Olave finishing with 6 receptions, 94 yards, and a touchdown. Their leading receiver. He's really coming to his own.
Do you do like a Buckeye breakdown at the end of every Sunday, kind of like that BNS? They used to do that wall-to-wall sports, which started with Jay Crawford, who's phenomenal, and Kirk Herbstreit before he went big. That's what I used to watch when I was a kid. Sunday night, and they feature the Buckeyes that played well in the NFL. I think you do that on your own every Sunday.
I do. I like to check in and see how my Buckeyes are doing. Yeah, I do want to know. And speaking of the Ohio State Buckeyes,
yes,
why don't we get to my Ohio State Buckeye question?
Let's do it, Bohm. Let's do it.
All right, so Minnesota lost to Purdue last week. Bad loss from them. Now, with that said, I still have nightmares of attending a certain game down in Columbus in 2000. I think it was 2006, 2007, where Ohio State hosted Illinois, and Chico, the juice was loose. Juice Williams.
I remember because I called him Juice Newton one time. They're like, did you say Juice Newton? I said, no, isn't that his name? They're like, it's Juice Williams. Yeah, Juice Newton. Go ahead.
So I think at that point, Illinois was unranked. They weren't that great of a team.
Yeah.
It was a shocking upset, kind of like the Browns upsetting the Ravens yesterday. It was like that big, like, whoa, what just happened? But being on the other side of it, it was really hurtful. And Chico, I want to ask you, fair or foul, this is a trap game for Ohio State against Minnesota.
Foul. No, I mean it. It's an obvious question because Michigan. These guys know what they have to do. I mean, Ryan Day's not gonna. I think they're laser focused now. Can they wait to get this game out of the way and then start focusing on these idiots in Ann Arbor? Probably, yeah. I mean, they're ready to roll, and I can't wait to talk about that here in a little bit. But no, I don't think so. Minnesota's not. I know PJ Fleck and blah 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 blah, but they're not going to have any issues. They'll be fine.
All right, last thing actually, because I did we talked about it a little bit last week, but I heard something that was a great point made on the broadcast, and you referenced it.
Do tell.
You referenced it with the NFL talking about at the end of the day, what really matters is what you do in December, right? How you finish the season. And for Ohio State, obviously, with their biggest game of the year looming in 2 weeks against the team up north.
12 days, but who's counting? Not me.
Yeah. Fair or foul, Chico? Marvin Harrison Jr. can clinch the Heisman with a breakout performance against the team up north. Foul.
I think I put it this way: if he's going to win it, he has to have that. But you're still looking at. Keep in mind, you're probably going to have a rematch in the Pac-12 championship. It'll be Bo Nix versus Michael Penix. That's going to be By the way, JJ's now gone. Like, I know guys like Dave Portnoy are annoying all of us with JJ McCarthy didn't even have to attempt a pass in the second half. That's actually JJ's a good quarterback, but yeah, he's off the list. So yeah, I think Marv's definitely there, but to say that he clinches it, no, because you still have Pac-12 championships and he has to fight, fair or not, and they need to stop making it a quarterback award. Bo Nix and Michael Penix probably are going to be winner of that game, big game, all that. So he'll be there. He'll be there, and I think he does have a big game against Michigan, but I can't go fair on that one.
That's a great point, too, about Bo Nix. I didn't even consider him, but you're right. I think he really has established himself, obviously, with Oregon being as good as they have been this season, taking down Washington. And Penix with another big week.
But again, think of the stage. If they meet, and they will for the Pac-12 championship.
It's the biggest of big spotlights.
Oh yeah, I mean that's what you're waiting for right there. So Marvin Harrison still has, and he deserves it. He's the best player in college football, but we're just naive if we say that they're not going to be focused on a quarterback.
Sure. You're right. That's a good point. But I do think at the very least Marvin deserves to go to New York at this point.
Oh, absolutely. If he's not, then yeah, something's very, very wrong.
Okay, so I lied. I have one more question for you,
sure,
because so after Penn State, a defensive player made a play, right? He's giving this binocular sort of signal, like sign stealing, right? So after their win, the Wolverines players were pumped up, right? And so J.J. McCarthy, you brought him up, and this reminded me. J.J. McCarthy at the end taunted Penn State back with the binoculars. Do you think that was fair or foul?
I'm out of gas, but let me throw this one. I'm actually going to say it's fair. Here's the thing. The players, good for them that they're galvanized. That's what, if people thought this was going to work the opposite way, they're crazy. These guys are galvanized. They are motivated. They are ready to go. Now, it's for all the dumb, stupid reasons, but look, you're looking for any kind of an edge, and now you get that. I mean, this game in 12 days is going to be ridiculous. But no, if I'm J.J. McCarthy, and I know that somebody did that to me during the game and mocked our sideline, after the game's over, scoreboard, yeah. I mean, that's trash talking. That's rivalries. That's football. So I got no issue with that.
And that's fair or foul?
I do have an issue. Thank you, Bohm. I do have an issue with how Michigan, I was going to say is being portrayed, but is portraying themselves. I'll explain when we come back, and then we'll also get back into the Browns, a huge, huge victory over the Ravens. And yeah, okay, it's 33-31. He found a way anyway, but it's how they did it as much as what they did. And we'll revisit that topic coming up in the second hour as well. It's Chico Borman Show. More to come. Victory Monday. Hoo, 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 hoo. Right here on the Big Play Sports Network. Alrighty, welcome back. Chico Borman Show here as we roll along on a victory Monday. Browns improving to 6-3. Boom, you're laughing over there. What do you get a little pick? Can you can put that up there? Oh, you probably can't.
I could. Yeah, I just need a couple minutes.
Yeah, it's a picture from the you were talking about barking, and we mid-80s, baby. I mean, what Hanford started, and Hanford and Minnie and that defense in the mid-80s, what they started with that barking, like I can't even put into words like how that, just something simple at a practice, and then in a game, and then all of a sudden it takes shape to the point where today we're still talking about a dog pound. But on this Victory Monday, a lot of barking. Browns getting it done 33-31, spotting Baltimore in that game, but then bullying them. That's what I'm more than any. Well, I can't say more than anything else, because Deshaun Watson going 14 of 14 in the second half of that game, and clearly hobbled. Not only the right shoulder, which is really not going to heal until the season's over, but he had that ankle rolled up on by his old pal Jadeveon Clowney, and he gutted it out, and not just gutted it out, he played his rear end off. But the Browns, they bullied him. And look, you find a way, whatever way you got to do it, but man, if we can get greedy, and I'd like to see it just like that. And that's exactly what I want to see against the Steelers. Cedric Tillman at crackback block on Kyle Van Noy. Those are the things that the Browns always had happen to them. James Harrison trying to decapitate Muhammad Massaquoi. I mean, it was nonstop. It was nonstop. And you say, like, well, I know, fine line, don't get a stupid penalty. I'm all for that. But at the same time, those guys, the Steelers, the Ravens, especially the Steelers back in the day, they pushed that envelope. And you know what? Behind closed doors, Mike Tomlin and company, and everybody was okay with it. They were, because you can be a bully and you can be a physical team, and you should be a physical team, but there's no harm in just in case you need a reminder. And that's what the Browns, that's the message your Browns sent yesterday in Baltimore, that not only are we resilient, but we're going to beat the shit out of you for 4 quarters. We're not done. And now save some of that, bottle it, and do the same thing to Pittsburgh on Sunday. All right. So I got to admit that sports, as I get older, it's still a big deal to me. It will always be a big deal. I'm a fan. I'll always be a fan. Do I yell and scream and lose sleep like I used to? No, but occasionally something will happen. The Browns, Guardians, the Buckeyes. This Michigan thing is just fried my last nerve, okay? And I'm to the point now, I absolutely want Jim Harbaugh on the sideline. Now, this isn't to say like, oh, I don't want anything to happen to Michigan, because they deserve to have a punishment. That's what Michigan fails to realize. But this portrayal by them and by their people, the Desmond Howards of the world, that, poor us, we're the victim. Sharon Moore, like, if you didn't know any better after the game, was Jim Harbaugh mugged in downtown State College Friday night? Was he out getting some peachy Paterno ice cream and somebody mugged the poor lad, and, he's laid up in a hospital bed in intensive care? No. Sharon Moore's crying, telling Jim Harbaugh how much they love him because he got punished for cheating and a scandal that he knew about. And this isn't just your ordinary run-of-the-mill everyday cheat. This is a very elaborate scam that they had going, okay? Now, Can we say definitively, oh, that's the reason they beat I don't know. I mean, it certainly wouldn't hurt. And I'll go back to what we're hearing many more people say today and what we've been saying for a while and what I've said about steroids in baseball. You can say that everybody's doing it. You can say that that doesn't make it right. And the other thing is, why would you do it then? If it's not a big deal, or, well, you know what, they don't need it. They don't need to advance scout. They don't need some moron with a camera phone or sunglasses, or then why would you go to those lengths? Please, somebody from Ann Arbor, answer me that question. If it's not that big of a deal, and Michigan didn't need to do it, and it didn't give them any kind of inherent advantage, why in God's name would you go to the levels that they went to keep this thing going? I mean, and I'm hearing Desmond Howard. Desmond Howard still has no idea what they did or didn't do. Like, I think he's confused. First, 2 weeks ago, it was Connor Stallions is a rogue operative. Nobody knows who he is. Well, I think we all know that's BS. Saturday, I'm watching Game Day, and now people, and I kind of understand, like, wow, the timing of it was that. I think Tony Petitti did want to send a message. I think that everybody wanted to send a message to Michigan. And the fact that they did it, could they have waited, not done it Friday night, whatever. Okay, they did it. So Desmond Howard is just painting this picture on Game Day of, oh, my gosh, poor Michigan. How are they ever going to survive this? And Reese Davis, what he said, Reese Davis has kind of been the only one that's been real about it, I'll say. And I know it's not an easy line to toe. If you're Herb Street, if you're McAfee, even if you're Desmond. But, like, Desmond doesn't care about that. He's just like, well, they did nothing wrong. You realize that nobody – I take that back. Desmond isn't saying that. Nobody from Michigan is saying they did nothing. They've never denied anything. That's what to me is just so startling, is that they've never – you would think if you're innocent, okay – if you have these allegations laid at your doorstep, you are going to fight. You're going to scream from the mountaintop. We didn't do that. No way. That is an app. They're not doing that. They're just like, well, you can't prove that Harbaugh knew about it. I don't have to prove that Harbaugh knew about it because Harbaugh is the head coach. And because Harbaugh is the head coach and the NCAA has a rule that says the head coach has to know what's going on in his program, otherwise you're violating the rules. So knowing the rules is a rule. You can't tie that. How do we know they can't tie it back to Harbaugh? Just because they haven't. NCAA is doing their own investigation. Now, listen, the NCAA is a joke. Tony Petitti. First of all, let's ask another question here, because this is, if you try to connect dots with this thing, it doesn't make sense. Like I mentioned, if it didn't help Michigan, why would they go to the lengths they did to do it? Let's ask another question here. What benefit does Tony Petitti, the Big Ten commissioner, what benefit does Tony Petitti get in disciplining Michigan right now? Like, why would he do it? If anything, it's the last thing he wants to do, because he's got two teams, including, obviously, Michigan, that could very well win the national championship. I mean, they're having a banner season. Why, in God's name, would Tony Petitti just all of a sudden go, you know what? I can't stand this Harbaugh guy. Boy, I hate those boys from Ann Arbor. We're going to stick it. No. It doesn't benefit him at all. If anything, this is what the fallout will be. And for those that are saying, "Oh, well, he gave in to the other teams in the Big Ten," well, I think I would be pretty upset too if they went to these lengths. But this idea that, like, these Michigan people are acting like they have been, I don't even think 3 games is that big of a deal. What I think is a big deal is if, let's say they recruiting, He wasn't a lot. If you really want to hit a program, do it with recruiting. Now, scholarships and now with NIL, it's kind of murky. But like, if you really want to, you can only have so many visits, or that's where you're really going to hurt a coach and hurt a program. 3 games, he's back in Ann Arbor. He's back with his team right now as we speak. He's on the practice field with them. Now, there's got to be some consequence. Well, yeah, but if he doesn't have his head coach, that's kind of a big deal. Yeah, well, there's got to be some. What are you going to do? Just slap his hand and say, don't do it again? And the other thing, and I know I've mentioned this numerous times, Michigan and Jim Harbaugh specifically, this is what he does. He dares people. He's daring the NCAA. Like, he's not denying anything. He's simply saying, well, I had no idea. Again, not a defense. Not one time have they said this is absolutely 100% false. Connor Stalions, yeah, we know who he is, but he did not do this. He was not filming signs. We didn't decode the signs. We didn't then have him saying too often. They've never denied anything. Well, but you can't prove it. They don't have to prove it. Like, I'm so sick and tired of hearing about, due process. This is so subjective. What's due process? And no, this has nothing to do with me being an Ohio State guy. Zero. You went to these lengths, and now it's come out. Was the time? You can talk about the timing all you want. Don't do it. It's simple. Don't do the crime. Can't do the time. Don't do the crime. This has been going on for a long, long time. Way too long. Do teams look for an advantage? Of course they do. But there's advantages, looking for an advantage, and then there's this. And that's what you're hearing from, like, athletes. Joe Thomas was on the show last week. We asked him about, Wisconsin. He's like, what was his quote? Something about Nam. He's like, there are rules, aren't there? Like, we have to follow some rules. Yeah. You can do things with your cleats. You can, whatever you want. You get a signal during a game. Good for you. But this, they went to these extreme levels. Well, it's not that big of a deal. Then why'd they do it? And then if you really want to break it down, okay, and all I'm doing is connecting dots. This isn't Josh Dobbs, physics homework. Okay? All I'm doing is connecting dots. So Jim Harbaugh 2 years ago was basically given an ultimatum. Like, Jim, we want to keep you, but you got to take a pay cut. Like, we can't afford, especially with what the way the program's performing and what you're making isn't adding up. And then the very next year, now again, Michigan beat Ohio State. They've got great players. They were more physical. So there are some aspects that you can say, well, that's not entirely true. But again, when a C.J. Stroud, who we were talking about earlier, when C.J. Stroud and Ryan Day are left shaking their head going, there's a couple times there, it's like, how did I can't, did we give him a formation? Did a guy going, what did we do that they had it sniffed out that quickly? Oh, now looking back on it, we might know. Was it the difference in the game? I don't know. It doesn't have to be, though. That's why you don't do it. It's why baseball says don't gamble on baseball. Well, he only bet on his team to win. Okay, but on days he didn't bet, does that mean that that's why you don't do it. That's why cheating. And for all those that say, well, why not just wait until after the season and why come down? Like, Michigan's big thing is, be careful about the Pandora's box you just opened, Mr. Petiti. How about the box that Michigan opened themselves? This is unprecedented. Let me repeat that. What they did is unprecedented. Not just cheating or getting to that level. It's unprecedented. So then why would you then look at Tony Petitti and what Tony Petitti has done and the Big Ten has done and what everybody's been screaming and yelling about? Why would you look at him and go, boy, that's a hell of a precedent to set? You guys set the precedent. You have nobody to blame but yourselves. Jim Harbaugh, let's think about this. This guy has been suspended twice in one season, and he's being made out to be a martyr. Sharon Moore, I would have thought he was on his deathbed. Oh, my God, Jimmy, we love you. We love you. Oh, Sharon, why are you crying? Jim was banned from the sideline because we had an elaborate. Oh, that's it? That's it? That's why you're bawling? I mean, good. Let it galvanize you. That's kind of what make the best of a bad situation. Absolutely, you guys should. J.J. McCarthy, wear your free Harbaugh shirts and Michigan versus the world and all of that fun stuff. Go ahead and do that. That's fine. But my God, this idea that, like, you know, oh, I can't believe that there's somebody's out to get Michigan. Michigan did it to themselves, okay? Nobody planted anything. And don't you think these are just logical thoughts and questions and observations that I'm having? And I'm not exactly the sharpest knife in the drawer. But if I can figure this out or if I can draw these conclusions, so can a lot of people much smarter than me. If Michigan decided, okay, here's the response. They got the report from the Big Ten. Wouldn't you expect them to, you know what they came back with? Everybody's doing it. That's what they came back with. Everybody's doing it, and be careful if you tell on us or if you punish us, because now you open up a whole can of worms. Not once in their response did they say, we didn't do this. They just said, careful what you wish for. Everybody's doing it. Everybody may be cheating to a degree, not to that degree. And if they are, well, they're going to be it's just like the speeding analogy. I mean, sir, Chico, I pulled you over for doing 82 and a 55. Well, I'm sorry, Mr. Officer, but everybody's doing it. Look at it. They're just going right by. They're in the, well, I don't care. I pulled you over. You're in the wrong. I don't care what everybody else is doing. And by the way, not everybody is doing it to the level you're doing it. I want Harbaugh on the sideline. Honest to God, put him back on the sideline. Deal with him after. He's probably going to be gone. At some point, he'll decide that, I don't need this. I'm better than this. And it sucks too, because he is a very good coach. I mean, you don't do what he's done. You don't accomplish what he's accomplished by just being some average middle of the road guy. He absolutely turned around Stanford. He absolutely went to the Niners, but this is what he does too. And there is a line. Okay, you can be cold to certain people. You cannot be well liked, but you can't do that. Everybody crosses a line. You want to be an ass to the alums. You want to be an ass to the owner, Jed York in San Francisco. Fine. Eventually, it will catch up with you, and it did, and he lost his job. But this, can we not compare this to cheating to just being a horse's ass to alums and your boss? Because it's much more than that. What this has done, if there's a silver lining in all this, boom, I get up for Ohio State, Michigan every year. It's something that it's in your blood and whatever, and I'm not going to try to get all cheesy, but even whether you went to Ohio State, didn't go to Ohio State, Michigan, it's just, if you're a college football fan and you grew up in either area, it's a huge deal. I think this is now going to go down as this is shaping up, and we got 12 days, and yeah, I know each team has a game to play, and boom, I think you just jinxed it now with that whole "are you worried about Minnesota" thing. But no, they'll be fine. I have I have never been this amped up for an Ohio State-Michigan game. 95 came close because I felt that was on the road in Ann Arbor. That was Bobby Hoying, Eddie George, Orlando. I mean, it was just loaded team, right? Not in a million years are we anticipating Tim Biakabatuka running for whatever he ran for and 320. Not expecting it. And also, we were all amped because it was like, oh yeah, nobody, even Michigan, they can't beat this team. And yes, that also came on the heels of loss after loss. That was the John Cooper era. Great teams, but in the end, can't beat Michigan. So outside of that one, I like the 1 versus 2, of course I was excited, but like I didn't have I'm not playing. I have so much animosity right now. Like I want to run through a wall just because of the way they're acting there. But you know what? This is what makes great rivalries. I wasn't around for Bo and Woody. Okay? I would be willing to bet this is the level that it was pretty much every year during that 10-year war. Matter of fact, if you watch the documentary, and if you've never seen it, the one, I think it's HBO, I think it's just called The Game. Liv Schreiber narrates it, which Hard Knocks, he's incredible. And he does the same. He takes Hard Knocks even and makes that look like nothing. He does this so well. But he tells stories of like Bo and Woody, and yes, when they finally were done, they became good friends and they had great respect for each other. But they were paranoid as hell, right? Bo, at practice, who is that? Who are these guys up in the corner of the state? They've got to be Ohio State. They're spies for Ohio State. Woody, a team dinner before Ohio State takes on Michigan the Friday before. Everybody's having a good time. They had a good week of practice. The waitresses are really, really good looking, drop dead gorgeous. Woody, in the middle of dinner, blows his lid and says, "Oh my, what? These waitresses have been sent by Bo to distract you and maybe get you to go on a little rendezvous tonight, so you're not ready." This is what those guys. This is how the rivalry. This is what it's all about. Guess what? I have never seen it. I've heard about it. I've never thought about it even close to that until now. And it doesn't mean that, you're less hyped previous years. Every year, like I said, I get excited. But this is top 5 because it becomes a referendum. It becomes a referendum for Michigan. They're saying, and if you're a Michigan fan, I get it. We don't need signs. We'll show you. We're going to beat your ass on November 25th. Ohio State. Oh, so you won the last two games. That's great. But you know what? When you don't have the advantage of this, rogue operative, Connor, whoever the hell he is, Michigan man, decoding signs and doing all of that, we got you, and we're going to get you on our home turf. Like, the stakes, these teams could both be 500 if this was going on. It would be a huge deal. Oh, by the way, they're both probably, knock on wood, going to be undefeated. And in the hunt for a national championship, in the hunt for a big I mean, it's got all the ingredients. You throw all of this into the pot, and this is one of the biggest, fiercest, most animosity, whatever you want to, in the history of Ohio State, Michigan. Maybe it's hyperbole. Bohm, you're an Ohio State guy. You're familiar with the rivalry as well. You're not an old fart like me, but you've been around long enough. Like, I don't think I'm being hyperbolic saying that. I think this is as big as it's ever been, probably back to the days of Bo and Woody.
And I think part of that, to your point, is just the uniqueness of this matchup, obviously with everything going on, but also the recent failure by Ohio State to come out victorious in that game when you're expecting them to win all day, and it just comes out and you get that result.
And they only lost 2. I mean,
yeah.
That's the other thing. Like, go back and it was how many? 14 in a row or something? I mean, that's ludicrous. But that's how big it is, too. Like, he loses 2 in a row. Uh-oh, we got to talk about Ryan Day and his job.
They all feel like must-wins, Chico. But for Ryan Day, this is the must-win to end all must-wins. Because losing 3 in a row, I don't know. I'm still not on board with the idea of firing or moving on from Ryan Day, but I think that a huge pocket of Ohio State fans are going to turn on him if he's not able to win in this matchup.
I got to be honest. I'm just smiling at you because, again, and it's not your fault. And I always hate when somebody older than me says, "Oh, well, but you really don't know what." Like, that was hell. And I love, to this day, I love John Cooper. Like, he was kind of like, you felt bad for him, but in the moment, it sucked. Do you know how many Michigan games either going to, like I said, 95, that was on the road. So amped. The next year, 96. Oh, well, this is going to be, this is the all-world defense. This is Vrabel and Finkus, and they're going to, this is going to be, they did it again. So, like, I get what you're saying, but you can't, it's not even about, you expect them to win. You're going to have up and down years. Losing 2 in a row really is, okay, it's not good. This is why it's a rivalry. But to your point, like, it's kind of ridiculous that people are like, oh, my God, he's lost 2 in a row. For God's sake, they won 14 straight. Okay? And, Cooper, how many years? He finished – look at his record versus Michigan. Are you kidding me? But, again, this is why this rivalry is so big, but this is taking it to a whole new level. And the fact that Harbaugh is a born and he's a Michigan guy. I know he's born in Ohio, but he's a Michigan guy through and through. Schembechler, loved him, and it has all the ingredients. Like, I would love to. Jack Park is a great Ohio State historian, and I don't know if he's still around or not. He has the Ohio State Football Encyclopedia. I have 2 of those at home. I love them. He's maybe the most noted historian. I would love to talk to somebody like that was around for those. Like, even Urban Meyer. He was a part of them, and he was certainly around for those Woody and Bo days. Like, this. I can't, I know I'm not imagining it. This is as big and as much animosity and hatred and all of that mixed in. Like, 12 days is going to seem like 12 months for me and many other fans out there.
For context, John Cooper's record versus Michigan, I did look it up, 2-10-1.
Yes, I was hoping, that's what I'm saying. Like, did you even know that?
I did not. I knew it was bad.
See, that's what I'm saying. Like, that's where. And I'm not knocking you, Bone, but, like, when people are like, oh, my God, he lost 2 in a row. Are you kidding me? Like, John Cooper, it was like, and even in 95, even though, yes, and we were very confident. Like, come on, Eddie and Bobby and Terry, and they're not, no way. But then we forgot to tackle Tim. Like, it just amazes me how, like, people forget that. Even if you weren't a part of it, like, you should know that John Cooper had nationally ranked, like, top of the heap recruiting classes, great teams, and lost to Michigan, and lost to Michigan, and lost to Michigan some more. 2-10-1. And it's like, oh, my God, Ryan Day dropped 2 after they won 14 in a row. He's got to go. It's both ridiculous and it's a referendum on how important this is. But now, with everything going, it's on a whole new level. I believe it or not, like, I'm not going to go so far as to say, like, I don't sleep at night before the Michigan game, but I do. Like, I'm just amped. It's not a matter of, like, upset or but, like, I'm excited. I always watch the game. It's my favorite documentary. I always watch that documentary the night before the game, Ohio State and Michigan, and you just kind of get in that mode. And, like, I'll usually get up, like, even if an alarm, I don't even need an alarm. Like, 5 o'clock in the morning, I'll just wake up and I won't be able to go back to bed because I'll just be reading stuff, watching old games. You just can't do anything until noon. This year, I guarantee you I will not sleep the night before. I am that jacked up for this game on November 25th. That jacked up.
I remember in my days of yore as a young Ohio State student when so many people would get up at 5 a.m. and
Kegs
go to
and eggs.
Yeah, kegs and eggs, baby. That's what you do. That's how you get the rivalry game started on a Saturday morning. I mean, come on. It's just everyone's going to be up there with you, Chico, if you're down in Columbus.
Boom. I mean, come on. Like, what are you doing? Like, come on, man.
Why aren't you having your kegs and eggs, damn it?
Boom. What was your give me your fondest Ohio State Michigan memory?
I think it's probably because I was in school. And the year that they won the Natty in 2014, 2015, that season.
Zeke. Yep.
Yeah, and you saw, I mean, a lot of adversity in that game because JT Barrett goes down, right? And then he breaks his leg. And
Still
Cardale
doesn't
Jones
get the credit he deserves in his career, by the way. But
right. But the heroics of Cardale Jones to come in and pick up right where he left off and showed off that deep ball a little bit. It was such a magical moment. And, of course, the way that the season ended. Where you go on to win it all. Just the whole thing, that run from that to Wisconsin in the Big Ten championship game where they just dominated. What was it, like 53, 59 to nothing?
Well, okay, that's what I was going to get at. I remember, I'll never forget watching. I was traveling and I had it on my phone. I was watching the Big Ten champ. It was them in Wisconsin, and Cardale Jones throws that bomb. I think it was Devin Smith.
Yes.
I think
Devin
throws
Smith,
that
yeah.
bomb to Devin Smith, and I mean it's like 70 air yards. Drops it right in the bucket, and it was like, holy cow! Like wow! And then they didn't look back. I mean, even the announcers were just like, oh my god! Like Cardale, that was amazing. That was amazing.
And then you go on to beat Alabama. Which was just, at the time, like, I could not believe what I was witnessing. And then Oregon just ran right through them.
People forget that they played Oregon.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, people believe in it. It's, I get it. If you're not a diehard
that
fan.
Alabama matchup was the real championship.
Yeah, a lot of people think it was over after Alabama. But that, man, and that 85-yarder by Zeke. Oh.
And I was on campus for that national championship game where Ohio State just manhandled Oregon. And I remember I was on 17th right off of High Street, right? And there happened to be like a couch that was being thrown away somewhere nearby.
And somebody lit it on fire.
They lit it on fire on my front lawn. And when the fire truck came in to put it out, they all joined hands and they sang, "We don't give a damn" for the whole state of Michigan.
The firefighters too?
I don't know about the firefighters, but the fans. They just watched it be put out and they were all singing.
So let me 2 times that I've been back. I mean, I've been back more than that, but 2 stand out. Ohio State, Texas in 2005. Is that right? 2000.
That was the one where Vince Young took him down?
Yeah, it was.
I remember watching that.
I get my years mixed up. Anyway, it was prime time at the Shoe. Vince Young, that was Laurinaitis and the gang, and they had Troy Smith and
Justin
Zwick, and they were.
Limas Swede had that catch.
Yep.
Oh.
But that one, and it sucked because they lost, but it was so much fun. But 1 versus 2, the game. I remember because we were debating, like, obviously
that's 06, right?
Yeah, we're out of long out of school. My buddy still does in Dublin, rich smart guy, and there's me. But we were debating, like, do we big screen TV, we can just, and we both agreed. We both partied our ass off together there in the 90s, and we're both like, we got to be down there. You know what I mean? And we didn't know if we'd get a seat. We tried like 3 or 4 different places. We walked into a Donato's Pizza. By the way, the mariachi beef to this day, it's still incredible. I love it. We walked into a Donato's Pizza, and it was getting close that we couldn't find. We weren't going to go to another, like, it was getting close to kickoff. And there were these 4 girls at the table. They had like right there, right? Everybody else was standing, and I mean, just to be there, you just had to see it. But I looked at him, he looked at me, and we had 2 other people with us. And he goes, we've got to get that table. Like, we got to sit down. We're going to want to sit down. We're going to want to, get some pictures. We're going to want to eat. We're going to want to, just be there, right? So these girls were like, any chance you ladies are going to be leaving? They're like, probably not, no. But they weren't, believe it or not, like they were like somewhat interested in the game, but not that interested in the game. We said we each put in $50. And I think there was like three of the girls. We each put in $50. We're like, here's $200. They're like, for what? Like, for the table. Are you serious? Yeah, there it is. And it was the best two. Like, we had our table. So then they beat Michigan. We storm out of Donato's. It's like a herd of cattle. Like, it's every bar. As soon as it went final, every bar, it was like a herd of cattle just steamrolling out. So we start sprinting, because if you're not running, you're going to get run over. So we're running down Lane Avenue. Halfway through, like, we had been drinking, I don't like to admit, like we get like we're past the shoe, and we're damn near Olentangy River Road. And I just puking everywhere. I mean, part of it was like excitement, the drinking, the everything. It was crazy. But those two, and again, far removed. I wasn't a student anymore, had finally gotten out. But like, I think of those and that day, and yeah, like, you could have robbed 8 banks that day. Nobody would have been like, yeah, we'll get them. We'll get them on Sunday. It was incredible.
You see any cars get flipped, Chico?
I wasn't looking for it.
Yeah.
But, actually, I heard on 12th Street there were.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, did you ever have a storm the field moment in your student days?
Oh, God, yeah. We had. I'm trying to think.
I've only been to one.
There was we had a few of them. One of them was Drew Brees in Purdue.
Oh.
And that was Mike Allstott. Remember Chris Berman used to boom, 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 Allstott. Yeah, one of them was that. Another one was a Michigan. They did win in 94, my sophomore year. And, of course, like I said, we had no idea that, like, the rest of it was going to be hell. But, yeah, they won in 94, so, of course, everybody stormed the field. And I think there was I want to say there was a Michigan State one in there, too, because Michigan State burned us, too. Thank you, Nick Saban. Yeah, anyway, okay, I went down memory lane. All that to just say this, that this one, it's always big, but this one, not only just the ramifications, not only just, where they're ranked, what's on the line, but this whole scandal and how they have portrayed themselves, and, oh, my gosh, everybody's out to get us. Like, dude, be accountable. Jim Tressel, like, did I think that it was that big of a deal? No. Like the tattoo. But it's in the rule book. What are you going to do? You knew it was wrong. I remember saying, people don't believe this, but I remember saying at the time that if Tressel got fired, then Gene Smith should have followed him out the door, because there was no way that Gene Smith didn't know. And I still to this day maintain that. I love Gene Smith. He's been incredible for Ohio State. So that was my statement then. Like, if you screw up, you have to, like, face the music. These guys they're not even denying that they screwed up. They're just saying, not that big of a deal. Get out of here.
Yeah, and they were Coach Harbaugh and the rest of the Michigan team, or a good chunk of the Michigan team and staff, were seen at the hockey game that was played after the game, and they got a standing ovation. And look, I understand that as a Michigan fan, you're in a really tough spot right now, and I don't blame many of them for, like, feeling still rallying around their team, right? Because what can you do if you bleed maize and blue? I get it, but at the same time, just the way that the support is so staunch when you did something so wrong, it flabbergasts
They're
me,
just
Chico.
glossing over it. Like, it's, I mean, and like I said, even like a Desmond Howard. I don't know. It's just it's mind-numbing. Anyway, okay, we're just about out of time. Big day today. Obviously, continue Victory Monday. Tomorrow, we got the Bold Ball Breakdown. Myself, Nick Shook. Neither of us thought the Browns were going to beat the Ravens. They did. Happy to be wrong. But as we've been talking about for most of the day today, and I'm sure many of you have as well, it's one thing to do it. And however you got to do it, if it's ugly, if it's pretty, it doesn't matter. Just do it. But now that it's over, the fact that they did it with Deshaun Watson going 14 of 14 in the second half and them just they bullied them. Forget about saying like, oh, they were physical. They bullied the Ravens. Not only up front, Cedric Tillman, shame. You shouldn't do that. Good job, kid. Good job. Because that's what the Browns used to have to face every freaking Sunday with the Ravens and the Steelers for years and years and years. No longer are you getting bullied. Does this mean the season's over and you've won the division? Hell no. And guess what? Come Sunday, doesn't mean anything if you don't follow it up with a win over Pittsburgh. This is what good teams, great teams do. Great teams, though, find a way to win on the road against a hot team, a division foe, spotting them points. That's what great teams do. They are a great team. Now they're proving it on the field. You can have a roster with talent and go, wow, first rounder and all pro, and until you do it on the field, and that's what they did against the Ravens yesterday. That was phenomenal. Now you got to do it again on Sunday. All right. So Nick Shook and I tomorrow, the Bold Ball Breakdown from from noon until 1. Also this week, Daniel Wallach. I remember talking to him way back when this was when Deshaun first had his, the scandal broke. Daniel Wallach is a legal analyst for The Athletic and a few other outlets as well. And I talked to him yesterday, and he's like, I would love to come on, meaning today. I was searching for him today. He's like, I just got back from Germany. I just had a kid. I've got to get him a birth certificate and I'm like, well, you don't have to go into more detail. But he's like, I will come on with you later this week. Remember, they had that hearing on Friday about the temporary restraining order and Harbaugh trying to get back on the sideline. I'm just curious, like, what's involved with that. I have no clue. I don't pretend to know. And he's like, no, that'll be perfect. I would love to come on, and it'll give me a few days to kind of catch up on what the latest is. So we'll have a legal analyst from The Athletic, Daniel Wallach, on the show. I just don't know if it's going to be Wednesday or Thursday.
Can we get EK on, too, to represent the defense?
He is. All I'll say is, and EK is one of my all-time favorite people, but, man, all he keeps saying is due process. Like, I could at least 15 text messages, due process. It's what our country, it's what our founding. I'm like, would you stop?
They are doing the process. We got a trial on Friday.
Process is over. There wasn't much of a process to be had. It's why nobody's saying that they didn't do it, because they know they did. They just don't think it's as big a deal as others. And, well, sorry. Come on, officer. Doing 92 and a 55 isn't that big of a deal. Well, you can have that opinion, but you're going off to jail because you were that much over the speed limit. So you guys they can have their opinions on that all they want. Doesn't make it true. All right, we're out of time. Boom, stellar effort out of you. Come on, cakes and eggs. I would pay money to have video of Bohm back in the day for an Ohio State-Michigan game. Crying when they played Carmen, Ohio. Yeah, you really have no idea. That convinced me. I knew that you didn't really know how bad it was there for a while. You didn't.
I've been spoiled, Chico. I'm not afraid to admit that.
All right, you know what, Bohm? You got to do something here real quick. Hanford is here. Can you open the door? I want you to open the door. I'm going to politely ask Hanford if we can exchange barks here with him. He's going to be taping his show, the Hanford Dixon Show. You can just Hanford, you don't have to come on. You can just stand in the doorway. We're doing it live as we speak. This is one of those days. I don't have many days where I bark on the show. I felt like I needed to bark on the show, and if I'm going to bark on the show, okay, all right, just for a minute. We're just going to. We don't have to say anything. We just want to bark.
Whatever you
That's what I'm saying. Dave said, Chico, that's a good bark, but you have the second best bark in the company, which is true. So you ready? 3, 2, 1. God love you, Hanford. Don't leave me hanging, man. All right, we'll be back with more tomorrow. Bold, bald breakdown coming your way, noon until 1. And what is tonight? The Reflog show airing as well. And Hanford's here. The gang's all here. We're
Come
barking.
get some with Greg Williams.
It's Victory Monday. Yeah, come get some. We're loaded up on this Monday. Until tomorrow at noon, enjoy the rest of your Victory Monday, everybody. See you.